All right, hi guys, how are we today? I tried to start a video earlier with the title Intuition and something. I tried to decipher it, didn't work. It's deciding on mental environments and the society that everyone can build their own reality. It's basically intuition and the feel, satisfaction of today, or it's SANT. I don't know what I fucking wrote, man. I can't understand my fucking handwriting. But anyways, I really want to talk about this like understanding of I think fewer sentences of today. Something I probably like took this video while we were talking about something, me and you guys. And I think the conversation was as the less I speak, the more I kind of hear myself in here. And so it's more the intuition is more the preparation that you do, and you have to be involved in the preparation, but you don't have to be involved. You shouldn't be involved in the actual, in the, what is it, when you're preparing for something versus when you're actually like doing it, versus what you're engaging in it, or versus when you're kind of like contributing to it. And the reason I say that is because I don't know if it's the whole vibe that's been happening with me lately is just like trying to understand things is really just trying to allow them to be the way they are kind of vibe. I'm explaining it very like blatantly. It's the whole I really want to know what I wrote. I just can't. But if we were to look at intuition from a uh, if we were to look at intuition from an expression of our mental environment, right? So like in our mind, we kind of like towards anything you are competent in right now. What you do is effectively your mind has some form of relationship with that thing that you're competent in. Be it driving, be it speaking in a certain language. The way you speak is basically how you're comfortable or how you're competent for something like this. Or maybe walking, or maybe dancing, or exercising, or singing, or doing spreadsheets and basically income statements if you're an accountant, or like strategizing and planning. It doesn't matter. Like we kind of have a mental space that's structured a certain kind of way, a mental environment that's structured a certain kind of way. And that's where we derive our decision making process. Because anytime you want to make a decision or have an opinion on something, you kind of have that your mental environment is kind of like becomes opinionated towards certain things, I guess. But ultimately, what intuition is the product of that is the when you're driving, you're not actually thinking, you're intuitively moving. When you're walking, you're intuitively moving. When you're dancing, when you're playing the guitar, the goal is for you to kind of like practice enough for you to kind of like develop your own intuition in playing and speaking and expressing. And we kind of consciously or subconsciously build our mental environment. But I think we kind of miss the whole like the exit point, because most of our activity, and it's funny because like in Hussein Bolt was actually like was asked by an interviewer about like the race that he did, and he ran I think for like 10-15 seconds or something like this, and he broke a record. And it's one of those like moments where everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're so amazing! How did you do this?" And he looks at them and he goes like, "No, I had to practice for fucking 4 years to run a 10-second race, and it literally is the preparation of 10 years for his mental environment to be the best or something like this, so that he can kind of like exhibit it in these 10 seconds." And for us, I think we kind of forget how we actually like we get so caught up in the fact that we're putting an effort and we're adding in all these things to a point where we kind of like forget and neglect that we're not the ones responsible of bringing it out. And I think that's where intuition kicks in, because the better we structure our mental environment, and the better our intuition becomes. But ultimately, accepting our intuitive responses is the hardest thing, because most of the time we have to be kind of like in charge or in control. And that's mainly because most of the time we literally are the ones that are putting in all this effect and all this effort. We're the ones that are every single day kind of like preparing. The preparation becomes a flow when it becomes an intuitive thing. And that's our ultimate goal, is to be able to kind of do anything we want, or to prepare for anything we want in a certain flowy like manner. Because once you understand how you approach things, then it becomes a lot easier for you to approach everyone. Miyamoto Musashi talks about it when he talks about the way. It's like once you when you see the way, and if you see the way in one thing, you can see it in everything else. It's because the way is literally your expression towards the world, your expression of reality, and how the rest of the world fits in your reality. That brings me to a conversation that I actually wanted to talk about last time, which is like La La Land versus reality, because I really think this everything in front of us, like everything, like the physical object in front of us, are La La Land, not reality. Our mind is reality. But going back to like the whole intuitive responses that we kind of have, and the whole like gut feeling that we discuss, or the certain kind of like tingling sensation that we get when we kind of like realize something, and how we're connected to it, is I think kind of like something that we don't really prepare for or like engage with on a day-to-day basis. And here, this video, I think, is because going back to yourself at the end of every day, or kind of like preparing for the day in the morning with like a bit more of an intention towards like why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's the intention, like kind of like making sure you're still on the track of where you're going. And the response that you get afterwards, where you're looking at yourself and you're going like, okay, so at night, or naturally when the day ends, I don't know when the day ends for you guys. Maybe sometimes it can end after like 2, 3 hours of doing what you have to do, and then the rest is chill. But there's that whole like coming back to kind of like connect with what you prepared in a way that allows for you to trust what comes out of it. I think it's something that I think that's what self-help books discuss, and reflection and Buddhism and meditation and all that kind of stuff kind of like is always about you reverting back to yourself and developing your intuition in a way where you allow yourself to kind of like engage with your efforts directly. Because like I've having this conversation, and there's a person that I'm trying to help, I'm working with, and what I do is with her is I ask her a question, and I any question, and I tell her to write down her answer. And they're normally questions that are a bit like kind of abstract. And from her answer, I extract like smaller questions. And eventually she kind of like reaches certain points. My goal was for her to be able to kind of like connect with the part of herself that actually impulsively interacts. Uh, I realized that this kind of activity develops some intuition, develops her connection to the voice that's inside of her. And that's the voice that's really like the voice of her true intuition, her true, like what she truly sees in the world instead of what she wants the world to look like. So I don't know if it's kind of like, if it's a valid approach for us to kind of like prepare. Of course, anytime you ask a question is always like, it's always a good thing. And like ask a question and see what the answer is, and then basically debate the answer and negotiate if that's a relevant answer, good enough answer, or whatever it is. But my focus on intuition is more of how we extract, how we build confidence with our inner voice, I guess, or the voice that actually is the result of what we're working with and what we're appending, and what are the things that have passed throughout the day that kind of accumulates, and then eventually you have the end result. Because I don't know if everyone like kind of like builds themselves structurally, but for me, I think my ADHD kind of like needs to see a lot of things and then like try to connect them on its own, and we build them from scratch in order for it to have a good mental model in my head. So the whole concept behind it is like the preparation that we have to be able to like, oh, okay, so it reminds me. So the girl that I was working with, anytime she writes something, she doesn't want to go back to it. And it feels like she kind of like rejects it completely, or she already like, anytime she looks at it, she remembers the effort she had to go through it, and she does not want to do it. And I feel that's basically where we kind of like fuck up, because like we prepare for things, but we don't kind of like go back to actually like not necessarily review, but to like just appreciate the effort that was placed in our preparation. And I think that's how we build confidence in our own intuitive sense, because it kind of like that feeling of pride, that sense of pride that I've put in the effort to kind of like do this kind of stuff, allows us to solidify and like properly understand what, who, and what, why, and what are we doing, why are we doing it, and basically who, which is us, who are we doing it for. And that kind of like, I don't know, it seems like this is the end of a video, but I feel like that intuition is at the end of the preparation funnel, and I'm not sure how to connect it. I'm hoping somebody would actually watch this video and give me a few comments to kind of like, so I could engage with. All right, guys, it's up to you. Help me out.